Hi folks, welcome back to Meaningful Money. Okay, this is Lamorna Cove. Now, it's not the best view of it, but you can see behind me, see the houses stuck up there, and just above them is millions of tons of granite, just sort of perched on the cliff in loose rocks. I always think I couldn't sleep at night if I lived there. But never mind, I'm sure they sleep very well. Those rocks have probably been there for millennia. So this is Lamorna Cove. Perhaps I'll turn the camera around next time so you can see the sea a bit more. We're going to talk today about phased drawdown or phased retirement. We talked about drawdown last time, unsecured pension, and we've talked about annuities. With all the previous options, there's pros and cons, advantages and disadvantages. And whenever that's the case, some bright spark will come up with an alternative. And specifically with retirement generally, if you consider before retirement, imagine a line drawn in the sand. We'll call that vesting or retirement line. Prior to retirement, you've got a pension fund. And the great thing about pension funds is that they're usually written in a kind of master trust, so that if you die before retirement, your family, your beneficiaries will get that fund usually free of tax. So that's a real advantage. Once you move to the other side of the retirement line, that's less the case. If you buy an annuity, you've handed over your fund and it's gone. If you go into income drawdown, there's a tax charge of 35% on the lump sum if your beneficiaries choose to take that if you die. So if we go into full drawdown like we were talking last time, we've moved our fund all the way, all of it, from pre-retirement to post-retirement. And we've lost that tax-free status that comes from this side of the retirement line, the pre-retirement line. So that's a little bit of an all-or-nothing solution. So there is a way that we can sort of move money from pre to post-retirement on an ongoing basis, a little bit every year. And that has added advantages of tax-efficient income, and I'll explain why in a minute. This is particularly for people who don't need or want the tax-free cash element which comes when you retire, when you take benefits from your pension. As we've said before, whatever your fund value is, you can have a quarter of it, 25%, as a tax-free cash lump sum. And that's a pretty useful benefit. But if you don't need that, for instance, I've been seeing a client recently who just doesn't need that, he's got plenty of cash already, then we can use that tax-free cash to provide some of the income. And thereby make it more tax efficient. So, I'm going to give you an example, and it's going to be probably pretty graphics heavy, this one, so stay with me. The example is the same as last time. It's a male age 60 with a £100,000 fund, before tax-free cash though this time. Now, when it comes to phased retirement, your starting point is the income you require. So when I'm talking to a client, that's where we start. It's how much income do you need this coming year? And so for this example, I'm going to choose an income of £5,000 a year. So a 100 grand fund, £5,000 a year, and this is how it works. We notionally divide the fund into 1,000 blocks. So if you've got a £100,000 fund, then each of the 1,000 blocks is worth £100. So what we're going to do is we're going to move a block, just one block, from this side of the retirement line, pre-retirement, to post-retirement on this side of the screen. Now each block is £100. As we move it from here to there, quarter of it is tax-free lump sum, so that's 25 quid. The remaining 75% of the fund goes into drawdown, and using the rules we talked about last time, gilt yields and GAD limits and everything, the remaining bit of that fund can provide you with an income of £3.42 net of basic rate income tax. Right? So we've got 25 quid tax-free cash and £3.42 net income. So the combined income that unit, that block, can provide in the first year is £28.42 net. Now, if I want £5,000 in that first year, I'm going to need to move 176 blocks from here to there. And 176 blocks will give me tax-free cash of £4,400 and net income of £600. So my total income this year is £5,000, which is what I want. But £4,400 of that is free of tax because I've used my tax-free cash in this first year to provide most of my income. So at the end of year one, I'm left with two bits of fund, a pre-retirement fund here and a post-retirement fund there. The pre-retirement, I've got 824 blocks left. Stay with me. And I've got 176 blocks over here. Okay, those blocks still have a value. The value of the blocks over here is 82,400. That's assuming I've had no growth or charges or anything, because they're still worth 100 quid each. Over here, the blocks have had a quarter of the fund removed, all right? And they've had the withdrawals made. So they're now worth a total of £12,450. So I've got a fund still of 94,850, roughly, and I've had my 5,000 income, all right? Figures are approximate because there's some rounding going on. So in my first year, I've had my 5,000 income, most of it's tax-free, and I've still got a pretty hefty pre-retirement fund, which is free of inheritance tax and income tax, all that sort of stuff, if I die. And I've got a little bit in the post-retirement pot as well. Now, in year 2, I want another £5,000. And so we start with a clean sheet. Except that we don't, because in the money that's already on this side of the line, that, remember, is paying me £600 income. The tax-free cash bit is a one-off, but the 600 quid continues every year. So if I need 5,000 in total this year, I've got 6,000 carrying on from last year. Now I only need 4,400 worth of blocks moved across. That equals, if I can just check my notes, that equals this time another 155 blocks to move from this side to that side. So now in year 2, my income is made up as follows. I've got the 600 quid from last year. I've got £530 taxable income, but I've already taken the tax off in this year. And I've got £3,875 of tax-free cash. So still, I've had my £5,000 in income that I want, but most of it is tax-free. So by moving money a little bit at a time from one side of the line to the other side of the line, a year at a time, as we go along, more of the income is going to be taxable in years 4, 5 and 6. Usually this runs out around about year 8 or 9, depending on how much income is taken and things like that. But more of that income is going to be taxable each year. But in the early years, the vast majority of that income, and really I should put that word in inverted commas, the vast majority of it is made up of tax-free cash. So it's a very tax-efficient way of getting your money out of your pension plan. As time goes on, more money moves from here on the pre-retirement side to the post-retirement side. Remember, the death benefits are better here because they're tax-free, but there's still fund over here. Now, in the example that I used in years 1 and 2, I had to assume, to make the figures easy, I had to assume no charges and no growth. But the money remains invested, so one would hope that there is growth, and that the growth would cover the amounts of withdrawal you're taking over time. But there's investment risk and mortality drag, like we talked about last time. Now, there's a lot of information here, and this really is the deep end of the pool when it comes to complexity. So I'm going to put the example in a PDF underneath the post, and hopefully that'll be helpful. But again, leave any questions in the comments. But phased retirement is a useful way of taking money out of your pension, but if you don't need the tax-free cash all in a lump sum, you can use that tax-free cash to fund your income for the first few years, and that makes that income, in inverted commas, very tax efficient. Hope that makes sense. That is about as complex, I think, as we're ever going to get on this website. But if you're considering retirement and you have a decent-sized pension fund and you don't need the tax-free cash, then your advisor should be talking to you about phased retirement. If he or she isn't, then ask them why not. Thanks very much for watching from Lamorna Cove and the precariously placed houses under all that rock. Thanks for watching and see you next time.